What's up, everyone? Welcome to Diabolical Souls Presents, and we're doing another animated series. This one, we're doing X-Men 97, Season 1, Episode 1 tonight. And I got the crew with me. I got a crew of new guys in here. So, I got Sammy. He's in here. He's always with me. Sammy, how are you, sir?
I'm really excited to get into this
Really
one,
excited
man.
to get into this, yeah. And as always, we got, Zack doing his art thing down on the bottom there.
What's up?
We got Mr. Joe Sontag joining us. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining. We got the Angry Badger joining Diabolical Souls tonight. How are you, Badger?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me. Excited to talk about this.
Yeah. And then, of course, actually Andrew, but he's not there, so I'll just skip over him. And then we got Vaughn.
Yay!
Mr. Vaughn Coleman.
How's
it going, brother?
It's going well, man. It's going really well.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to do X-Men 97 because it had a kind of a controversial take in the beginning, and I'm the first one to say that I had, my foot in my mouth. I thought I was going to be dead in the water. But like,
I did too. I'll fully admit that.
After watching this and seeing the series, I was blown away by it. I was like, thank you to Mr. Beau DeMayo for writing such an excellent series. Really, really impressed with this. Really
feel
excited
the love
to get into this
from a fan.
Yes,
all in this series, and that's what was awesome. As a fan's point of view, watching this, you could see that a fan was writing it, and that made it really, really a fun, enjoying time to spend. Every Wednesday for 10 weeks was great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I missed it for 10 weeks, but you can always tell when it's a fan or not. And even just in this first episode, I was like, this is someone that has wanted to write this for years. And you could you feel it in every frame and every scene. And I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's say shout out. At least he was consistent, because when I first heard Beau, I was like, where do I know that name? Beau DeMayo. That he was getting the X-Men 97 sequel series. I was like, oh, this is a guy that came from the Witcher's writer room that let everyone know that the writer room notoriously did not like Henry, did not like the source material, was changing. That's why they were
leak that.
That's Beau. That's our boy Beau.
Yes.
So, and he famously said, "Look, if you're going to change something, if you are going to change something in the canon, you better at least know it like balls to bone. You better know it back and through." And he changed a couple things, but for the most part, the quality overall was there. You could tell it was done with love, and that's what you need to do. And so, yeah, at least he was consistent. Puts money where his mouth is, literally, and gave.
You know how he's a fan is even earlier today. I didn't respond. He goes, "Post your favorite X-Men splash page from an X-Men comic." Someone who's like a Wikipedia fan will be like, "Give me your favorite X-Men character." Like, that's a comic fan question.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And
Wikipedia, you're not going to know what a splash page is.
Well, this is what we've been dreaming of since we've been reading the comics for how long now? For decades. Like, we've always wanted someone to capture the X-Men. And welcome, Zaxx, to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, sorry for I'm late. Not really.
No worries. I know you watched the series, and you were actually, your comments were like, "This is a great series," and so
yeah, I was a fan of the comics growing up, and I'm blown away by how good the series is. I did not expect this at all. I did not think I would like it, and I gave it a shot because I heard from you and other people that it's worth watching, and so I tried it, and I binged it. Like, it's awesome. I love that show, and I'm so disappointed that they fired the guy who wrote it and created it after this.
Yeah, Beau DeMayo.
They made something good, and they kicked him off. Yeah,
they did it before the show actually came out.
Okay, so maybe we should just recap the fact that Beau, out of nowhere, like, he was doing promotion, and then like a week before it came out, we heard that he was no longer with it. They ended up like, it was really like the night or two before the actual premiere release for like reviews and things like that, and did not give any reason. The most we've been able to determine is it may or may not be due to having an OnlyFans, which if you
make that money,
paying attention, most people have OnlyFans, and I don't think anyone
I need to make it
whatsoever.
I don't care, man.
Disney would not fire someone for that.
So last we heard, he did all of the first season. He did all, if not most, of the second season, and was in talks to do the third season when they parted ways. And when the guy taking over was like his second writers, and now they've got a new person coming in. They should just rehire Beau DeMayo. I've said it right now.
Totally. Said
not because not only I will pose, this is the best thing. Not that Marvel's done, that Disney has done in 5 years. I mean,
yeah.
It shows that if they want to, they could take a beloved property and at least mostly treat it with respect and have some character glow ups and not make them look pathetic to make other characters look good. So it's 100% possible. And yeah, it helps if you get a fan that actually knows the shit and knows the lore and helps if they like the property they're being given, which most of these people don't.
Yeah, newsflash, you're gonna, if you're not really invested, you're not gonna read 200 issues or whatever for research purposes.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're like, oh, I got to do 10 episodes of X-Men, like in the first episode alone, how much stuff do they pull from? I mean, we're talking, they have the Trasks, that's what the 60s, they have Master Mold, they have New Mutants, you know, Roberto da Costa, they have 90s stuff, they have like they pull from so much stuff. You have 80s, you have some, I mean, like all over. And it's like you could find that on Wikipedia, but like, come on.
Yeah, but you wouldn't understand it on the level that.
Yeah.
So
You have to be a
it's
diehard.
one thing having these characters and these elements and throwing them in there like an Easter egg. It's another thing implementing them properly.
Yeah, you can
And
fool
that's
Zack.
truly how it's been
But-
done here.
I'm going to go ahead and say one thing I'm super impressed with this show. And whenever I watch superhero content, you can tell when they pull from the source material, they go ahead and they like just pick bare bones, like little bits and pieces. What this show does really, really well, which shocks me, was the fact they're able to hit important arcs from the X-Men. And we're able to go ahead and condense it to 20-something minutes and still have us be at the end of the episode, wow, that may not have been verbatim, but that was damn near close.
They took a lot of so some of the complaints that I heard early on were like, oh, they're fast tracking certain story arcs, you know. And I understood that when you're taking elements of, I don't know how many different stories they took, 3 or 4 different stories. They took the elements and they put them all together and made like a unique, brand new storyline, you know, that just took out beats from these very popular story arcs in X-Men history. And I thought they weaved it together very well to make one brand new story, you know. And yeah, some of it felt like it was going fast, but that's only if you really knew the history. You know, comic book fans and stuff that know the history kind of want to be like, oh, let's chill with the Goblin Queen for a little bit, you know, and that's
My
kind of roll with
expectations
that.
were subverted. I thought they'd make Sunspot gay, and I didn't expect him to be dating. I'm just saying, like, I thought they'd go one direction. They went an entirely different direction. I was like, oh, okay.
That's what made the show. The show definitely took you in a different direction than you thought it was going to go. Like even on the first episode, and that's what we're here to talk about. I will be completely honest that the first episode was not my favorite. I was hyped about the show, and then I got down about the show by some of the things I heard coming out before it. And I'm like, whatever, I'm going to give it a chance anyway, because that's what I do. I watched the first episode, and it was just kind of like, compared to what the rest of the season was, the first episode to me was just kind of, you know, we're getting reunited with the characters, seeing what everyone's at, what the world's like, you know, everybody's different place, you know. And it was nothing like, you know, what it would become. And starting with episode 2 is when it really picked up for me. But again, the series as a whole was fantastic, and I love it. I give it like, you know, as much 9.99 as I can give it, you know.
But that first episode didn't put you off.
No, it didn't put me off at all. No, it was just, it wasn't what I was
like you were
looking
being
for.
attacked. Yeah.
No, it was just, it didn't touch what I was looking for as a lifelong X-Men fan and 92 series fan. I thought it'd be a little bit different how they brought everything back in, and where they actually went from was great. You know, when they got into season or episode 2, I was like, okay, I see what's happening here, and then I was on board.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too that I really enjoyed, you can't tell too much from this first episode because obviously it's the first episode, you don't see, but since they are using so many different factors from the lore over the years, you started to go, especially when it got to be about like the last episode, I'm going like, oh my God, they're doing this. Oh, no, wait, they're going towards this. What are they going to do with this? And it was, you know, it was like they've used so many things where and they weren't even misdirection. It was like, oh, they have the opportunity to do this. I hope they use this. And because they were utilizing these things well, I was excited for them to pull it in, because nowadays, usually when they bring something in, I was like, oh Christ, they're going to ruin this. And it was like, I didn't feel that way about this. I was excited like I used to be. You know, like that I was like, oh my god, we might actually get to see this.
Sup, Beau DeMayo in the
I was just
chat.
saying, we got Beau DeMayo in the chat. Look
Oh
at
my
that.
god!
Is he
right?
really?
Yeah.
If that's a
Oh.
real account.
Take his
So-
word for it. You can make
Yeah.
it count pretty easily.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Buy all, guys.
You always gotta be. You got one.
But while he's
Um,
here, if it is, I'm sure you can vet that.
No, I just want to quickly say that is Beau DeMayo. I've been talking to him while you guys are
What?
chatting. And if-
No, I don't.
if-
No, wait, hold up. I don't want to prove this. Bo, how many
Oh.
fingers am I holding up?
yeah, well, you're not on camera. I can send you the link. We
Jump
can.
on, let's do it.
We'd love to have you on. You don't need a camera. You can just have an avatar. And if not, then maybe next week we would love to have you on. It'd be awesome to hear your insight to this. Guys, anything you want to talk about before we get into episode 1 here?
Protect
Oh,
that man at
I
I
all
want to talk about
costs.
Bo for a minute if I can, just about how he.
Yeah.
I heard about him because of the Witcher stuff, about how he was in the writers' room there, and he was said that they were not fans of that character, and they were not fans of those books on the property they're working on. And so when he started the X-Men, what he was saying was, "I don't want non-fans in this room. You have to be a fan of this to actually be a part of this team." I think that made a huge difference because this show is way better than I expected it to be. I had no hope really going in, and I
Shocking
loved
he'd
it.
be able to get that many and be allowed to
Right,
have
yeah.
fans in his writer room. Yeah.
Yeah, from a company that has bragged about they don't want the writers reading the comics.
Straight
They
up
don't want
said they don't
Yeah.
want you to know the comics. Yeah.
Which never makes any
Absolutely
sense,
insane.
right? Because when you see a show like this come out and have the success that it has, it's because someone knows the comics, they're a fan of the characters, and they give us a story that we like. You know, it might not have pleased everybody, but it was enough of X-Men lore and excitement there that any X-Men fan was drawn in. Because, like I said, I came into it, a little worried, and my attitude and my thought was changed very, very quick. And I became one of the biggest supporters of the show online when a lot of people would just go out and bash it because it's a trendy thing to do. And I'm like, no. Like, this show is really, really good. Like, there's some faults to it, but it's really, really good. And I was on board, and it did not disappoint the entire season.
As
Yeah,
a
they
matter of
say
fact,
they
I
don't
think
want
it
people to know
improved upon certain things.
It
Where
did.
there was
It
a
did.
lot
It
of
got better.
there was a lot of things in the old show where certain characters didn't get their shine. I thought every character that they had got
Nailed it.
some good representation in this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like good
I
representation.
liked that you could see the characters move and it wasn't a PowerPoint presentation. Look, I'm sorry, but the 90s show, there are parts of that where it's like a PowerPoint
Technology.
presentation. So it feels like it's really, but here's the thing that we knew that it's been 20 years. We hoped the animation would step up, but it's the way the characters move. I don't know. You said you didn't want to get into the specifics yet, right?
Well,
we're going to scrub through episode 1, but I just want to quickly do a quick shout out. Mr. Beau DeMayo's in the house. Thank you for joining us.
Oh my
Wow.
god! Yeah. Oh my god! Let's go.
Zack, settle down.
welcome. So look at that.
How are you, sir?
Sorry,
Oh,
I'm in the
man.
car. Otherwise, I'd be on camera. But
Wow.
your boy just hit me up on Twitter, so I was like, "Oh, I'll pop in real fast and say hello and say
That's what's
thank
up.
you."
Thank
No,
you.
it's a fantastic. What you've captured, sir, is what we've been asking for the longest time with X-Men, especially. Brilliant writing.
Thank you,
How
man.
long did it take you to write out those scripts? Like how much research did you get into this?
In terms of the script and stuff, I mean, when I first started the pitch after I got the job, I think I went out to the desert here outside LA, and it took about 2 to 3 weeks to write kind of a 20-page Bible that went through 5 seasons of the show, with the primary focus being season 1. And then once we started taking them into the writer's room, each script probably took about 2 weeks to write, I would say.
Okay.
But a lot of the research was just, I grew up reading the comics, so the research was just kind of baked into life. If that
Nice.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
it kind of became a thing of turning off wanting to do every single comic book that I loved in existence from X-Men lore and focusing on the ones that were best going to service at least season 1.
Oh, that's awesome. I know there's a lot of guys that have a lot of questions for you here, and you're probably going to be overwhelmed a little bit because we have a love for the series. I'm going to start off with the bottom here. Zaxx, do you have a question for Mr. Beau DeMayo?
What was your favorite episode if you had to pick one from season 1?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like everyone expects me to say episode 5.
Mm.
But actually episode 8, Chase Conley, who directed that episode, his team took that script, which was Chase got all the hard episodes. I always kind of wrote towards Chase's talents as a director, and he was just able to deliver cinematic quality directing. And episode 8 was just like episode I always knew Bastion was going to be revealed, and it was going to be our kind of team's time to try to show people what we could do with an X-Men movie kind of idea. And just having that kind of boulder where as soon as the Prime Sentinels get activated, everyone is just getting the moment, from the Nightcrawler Wolverine tag team
Oh
to
my
the
God.
Summers fighting to Jubilee, all the way kind of ramping up until Magneto's big kind of mic drop was something that, from the first days of conceiving the season, I was just stoked to write and see come to life.
Oh, excellent. I know Andrew has been a big fan of the series as well. Andrew, do you have a question?
Not really a question, just a statement. Before watching the show, I was not. I'll be honest. I was not a fan of X-Men. It never really interested me. I watched Logan.
Really?
I think Logan's a great movie. I love Logan. All the other movies really didn't interest me. I never watched the original show while growing up. I'm 21. I'm pretty young.
Oh
So,
yeah, you're young.
So it was never in my age group. And I read some X-Men comics, but not really enough to get my interest. This show sold me on X-Men. Like episode 1, I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. Episode 2, I think episode 2 is my favorite episode of the entire season. Episode 2 is I would give episode 2 a 10 out of 10. It's actually a perfect piece of storytelling.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, the people here know me.
Yes, we do.
I'm pretty analytical when it comes
Yeah.
to looking at and critiquing stuff, and I was speechless both with episode 2 and episode 5. So good job.
No,
I
thank
know
you.
I know I'm just a guy, but like yeah, good job.
No, I mean, it's funny because some people say that, like, I'm just a guy, but like, I think the weird thing for me with this show was I'm just a guy too, and just a fan that kind of got lucked out and got to sit in the chair and got to, have his round of storytelling with these characters. But yeah, episode 2 is another one, also directed by Chase. That is, when the show was first conceived, episode 1 was always supposed to be like, there's hints of it being an elevated version of what we knew before. There's hints of, okay, Gyrick is kind of talking about the quiet part out loud there, and that, Gene Vision was pretty intense, but it was always supposed to be episode 2 is really where you feel where the show is going in terms of it's an adult cartoon, kids are invited.
Yes,
So
It's
that you
mature.
pick that up
Yeah.
means a lot.
Oh yeah, like the part in not the movie, the part in the show where I was like, okay, like an artist made this, was when Magneto is giving his speech, brilliantly written by the way, and it cuts between him giving the speech and Jean Grey giving birth, and I'm like, okay, so this is articulating the fact that both he's not doing this for himself, he's doing this not only for Xavier, but like in this moment he's doing it for Xavier and his people and the future of his kind, rather than just himself.
Funny about that scene. So I wrote that that speech in my text messages to myself while hiking in the middle of LA one day. It was one of the hardest. There's a couple monologues in the season that were very hard to write. And Magneto's, I mean, that kind of has a part A and part B, right? Part A is when he's giving his defense to the UN, and then part B is his speech to them above the world. It was definitely time consuming, and actually had to fight pretty hard with the studio to have that, to keep that intercut, and not have it be separated.
The intercut with Jean.
Yeah. That was a bit of a, because stylistically it's just very different than what the original show, which is the point, did. So that was one of those areas where definitely had to fight the good fight.
Yeah.
Beau, I'm sorry if I may ask, how, because the first time I ever heard of you was you letting everyone know exactly what we get the suspicion every time. People who aren't fans and probably never heard of the property until they got The Witcher among what we're talking about here. How did you swing the resistance of all these people that get these properties and then destroy it? And then when you as a fan of the property try to go, well, wait, what about this? You get painted as difficult to work with. I'm convinced 100% this is what happened with Henry. Fully welcome to believe it's happened to you and many others. That how did you even get into the position of being able to shepherd this as an actual fan when they actively don't want people to know the source material?
You know, I think the Witcher comment I won't comment on because that got me in trouble
Fair.
little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, I think overall in the industry, right, there is a stigma against fans. And
that's what I'm interested. When did you see that first? Because it's insane.
I mean, I've always picked it up. Period. Even when I was an intern at studios out here, you know, there can be, I will say, but I will also say there are a lot of studio execs and producers out here. Brad Winterbaum at Marvel being one of them, who really do want fans in the room and steering these projects.
Right.
And it's about finding fans that can also, you know, that know the craft of storytelling, but and then can also kind of remove themselves. Because
and serve what's best for the story and the franchise as a whole, as opposed to what they particularly want.
Bingo. It's a tricky thing. Even as a storyteller, when I was, you know, doing the show, it was, you know, Eric and Julia talk about this in their book. Eric and Julia Lewalt, the original creators, about just, you know, you invite other writers in or other artists in, and everyone wants to put their favorite character. You know, it can actually become like Twitter, where everybody is like arguing about their character and they want their character to do this and that. And you're kind of in this referee situation where you're like, okay, I would love to do all of that, but we got 10 episodes, about 26 minutes each, guys. So we got to be.
Yes.
So it gets very hard, even for yourself, but also when you're collaborating with others, and you know, to navigate that, because you do have to say no a lot, which can paint you as being difficult.
Right.
And it's nothing personal to whoever's like trying to pitch or advocate for that character. But on the flip side, when you're then advocating for stuff that's in the comic books, if you're advocating for stuff that's in the novels, if you're advocating for stuff that's in the video game, whatever it may be, right, that you're working on, that can also be a very lonely fight, because you'll get painted as a fangirl, fanboy, and, you know, turn your collector's brain off or whatever the case may be. And it can be very difficult to kind of be taken seriously in that respect. So it's a tricky line that you just follow. I see it all the time, but I do think it's changing, because I do think people have seen when you have people who not just care.
Yeah, we've seen the stark examples, right, between you and between the other ones, when they don't care and when it's just used as a mouthpiece for other personal agendas, as opposed to someone who loved the property, grew up with it, and just wanted to see it.
I mean, look at what Terry Matalas did with Picard season 3.
Great example.
I mean, this is a guy who clearly is just a fan of Star Trek, and the love, just whatever you may think. I know some people, you know, wanted people to do this and that and whatever, and the Enterprise D could have come sooner, whatever. But the love that Terry had for those characters in that franchise from the days when he was on Voyager as a PA, it just seeps through. And I do think you're always, and I think what you just said there too, like I'm a queer black guy. If anybody like has things to say about the world, it's me, but you do have to check yourself to make sure you're not just preaching to the choir.
Well, and can I talk about that just a second, just for my own personal, because yes, I'm very well aware that everything that happened, even in the first episode that we're talking about, is completely in line with what would have happened in the original series, but we are in 2024, and it was written by a gay black man. That being said, nothing outright threw me out of it. Nothing made me feel like I personally was being attacked.
Nope.
It all rang true. It all rang true, even if you can read into it.
Yeah, it's important, because I think, you know, you have to invite people to the table. And that was kind of my guiding philosophy here whenever we're looking at story points, is our job as storytellers is always to ask provocative questions. I love watching people debate if Bastion was right, if Bastion had a good point, was Val, you know, kind of an idiot for letting Magneto out, whatever the case may be. That's intentional. Like, as a storyteller, we wanted to provoke those questions in people. The moment I start getting to a place where I'm answering those questions for people, I think that's where you cross a line as an artist.
Can we talk about Morph then? I'm sorry if I'm.
Yeah.
We talk about what, because when I grew up, he was more like the Joker, the Joker-y style. He he would revert right back to that white male, basically. So what was it to provoke conversation, to make him no, we're gonna have him be a they them, and then revert to his like changeling persona? It was just by design to start conversation, and then the dynamic between him and Wolverine, does that change by design? Did you always think that Morph had feelings for Wolverine?
Yes, even when I was a kid, and maybe that's me projecting myself onto it. And
fair enough that you would even admit that, by the way, because most wouldn't even give that.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely I've been guilty of falling in love with a straight dude, and I'm always gonna write from what I know and and more importantly, like what I feel, because all of us, I don't care if you're straight, gay, I don't care how you ascribe your identity. You've all unrequited love is just like such a core truth that everyone's been through. And that's really, when you look at what Morph's journey is in season 1, from the very first moment where he seems very bitchy about Jean in episode 1, right? It's a slow realization that they're having of crap, I may have feelings for my best friend, which is just a classic Dawson's Creek, One True Hill. I mean, I think you guys have seen it. Like X-Men is best when it's a soap opera, and it's just, that's a classic trope of the soap opera. Now, in terms of like making them non-binary, as a term that didn't exist in the 90s, the closest Morph would identify using the terminology of the era would be trans, which wouldn't be, I don't think, how they see themselves. So when we say non-binary, they, them, that's talking from our contemporary standard, and our contemporary point of view. But
yeah, he'd be gender fluid, like
gender fluid, and there is a point. Look what Krakoa did so well, what Hickman did of just the X-Men and mutants kind of throwing away the shackles of human labeling is kind of irrelevant to a certain point to mutants. But I would say, like, the decision to make them non-binary was more rooted in one, wanting to tell kind of a compelling unrequited love story. The other, visually, I just wanted more visual mutants on the team.
Yeah, and he looks more like his comic iteration. So I mean, like,
that's a great way to do that.
Yeah, no, I thought that was, and growing up, Morph was actually my favorite character. Like, I was like, I always did like impressions when I was younger. When he turned into his principal to get out of trouble, like that.
That's what I remember most. Wolverine mad that they didn't go back for him.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I like the damage that Sinister did, and like the mental anguish that he had to go through. He was just a compelling character to me, and I have a lot of respect for you where you were able to make those changes and make me not feel like I'm being preached to.
It was done as well as it could be done, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and I really appreciate that. And what I was saying to these guys before you got on is I thank you very much for this show. And there's a lot of times when they bring in new characters and stuff from the comics, and I go, oh, damn it, they're just going to screw it up. And you didn't screw it up. You incorporated things, and I saw myself getting excited and going, damn, this is why I love this stuff in the first place.
Yeah, you put your money where your mouth is.
And I really appreciate it.
That means a lot, and I understand. Like, I remember before the show came out, 4 years.
I was very worried, Beau. I was very worried.
I remember. I mean, there was a lot of people. And, if I hadn't been sitting in the chair, I would have been right alongside you.
Okay, well, can I ask you? Because I think you might say yes to this.
Wait. Just okay. Let's get to other people first.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, Joe, do you have a question for Beau?
Yeah, just sticking on the Morph thing. I'll be straight up and say, like, I've never liked the character Morph in general. I was disappointed when I heard he was going to be in the show, because I'm like, what are you going to do with Morph? Or at least they haven't ever done anything really good with Morph. And I have to say that when I saw the show, what I loved about the Morph characters, using them to use all the different cameos, all these different X-Men characters that we haven't seen, let alone all the cameos you guys put in the show in general was awesome. But just the usefulness of that character being able to actually shapeshift, because in the original show, he just shapeshifted as jokes to be, certain things here or there. He didn't really do too much with his power. And we actually got to see it, and you got to see some awesome characters. I absolutely love that. So I mean, great use of the character on that. But what I wanted to talk about specifically was, besides the show in general, I really got pulled into the way that you guys used the score of the show. Like, the score of the show was very cinematic, it was very mature. It
Yeah,
wasn't
the
like a
Newton Brothers
cartoon.
guys.
Beautiful, beautiful, emotional. I mean, there was so many emotional parts of this season that got me in the feels, or got me, on the edge of my seat. And I didn't expect that from a cartoon. And I just got to say, shout out to keeping it kind of like a mature kind of emotional theme instead of like a kid's show. And it is what it is, but I actually love the tone that you guys did. And I thought the score was absolutely perfect.
The thing is I'm always going to come back that animation is one of the most underrated, underappreciated mediums for storytelling still. And you'd think after Batman and Family Guy and Simpsons, and let's just say like over 30, 40 years of awesome anime, we would kind of be further along in appreciating what the medium can do than we are. And the fact that the show's looking to be nominated for a Gotham Award, it as a little nerdy 5-year-old who used to grow up on Big O and Gundam Wing and Sailor Moon, like the fact that I could do my part with my team to kind of show people that animation can take you to some places that are really hard to go to. Actually, I what you just said, actually, I actually think some of the content that we did explore would have been too dark and too uncomfortable had it not had it been live action.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
Right.
You get you get to episode 10, and episode 10 was just hard for me to write personally because there's a lot of heavy shit in there. You literally have Xavier sitting there in Magneto's mind, having him have to remember the Holocaust.
Love that scene. Yeah, love that entire. Loved it. Yep.
And I think doing that in live action would have been a little too heavy to come back from. I don't know, but also the Newton Brothers, easily one of my favorite parts on this job was collaborating with them. They are just consummate professionals, but also have just become good friends of mine at this point. Huge, again, nerds of the franchise. I would say, you remember the psychic music that would always play when Xavier, oh yeah, we'll pull that up. Okay. Like, they instantly would always know. And there's some cues that people still haven't picked up. They haven't picked up in episode 3, when Goblin Queen gives her say my name. If you listen to the music, it's the same music from when Jean Grey becomes Dark Phoenix for the first time on the top of the Hellfire Club in episode.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god.
Nice. I didn't realize that. That's
Amazing.
cool.
We found little ways to harken back to that score still. And just having the shorthand with those dudes where they just do instantly what I was talking about. Because I'm a score freak. I listen to movie scores more. I'm a bad gay man. I should be listening to Swiftie and Kylie. I listen to movie scores. And so when they came on, I was like, guys, I just want you to know, next to writing, I'm probably more OCD and anal retentive about music. So just
you can tell.
with me.
You can absolutely tell.
And it works perfectly.
And those guys, I cannot sing their praises enough. I wish they would have been featured more in the making of documentary, because they're just geniuses. And I think a large part of what people love about the show, it comes from their music.
Yeah, and if I could just follow, I'll let somebody else talk here in a second. But what I really loved about the show is not knowing how the emotional depths you're going to take us as the viewers. And there is a lot of awesome story arcs within characters dealing with different emotions throughout the entire season. One I really appreciated was the family aspect between Gene Scott and Nathan. Especially that scene in episode 10 where they're talking over the table. As just being a father myself, just kind of being a parent, right? And just watching that scene go as you're telling your son, you're thinking that you're possibly going to die. You just let him know that I love you and all that kind of stuff. It was great. And that's the emotional depths that the show got to. I thought it was a surprise. It was a pleasant surprise, to the point where I was just like, everybody has to watch this show, because it's not just some fun action. There are some real deep aspects to where you guys went with this season. And I was just, as a fan, I very much appreciated that.
Funny story about that scene, real fast.
No, go ahead.
The
Take your
diner
time.
scene. One, I think anybody who's like followed me knows I was adopted, and so like the idea of like not being able to see your parents' faces has always been kind of something that has fascinated me because I don't know what my birth parents look like to this day, and I grew up around my birth parents are white, so I grew up with I mean that's where that entire monologue when Magneto's like, why can't I see my parents' faces? And like I stay up trying to, scrolling an endless fantasy of faces, looking for who I was meant to be was something I really have struggled with my entire life. And I was talking to Jennifer Hale, who plays Jean Grey, and I think any fanboy and
Shout out
fangirl,
Jennifer Hale, yeah.
Oh yeah, I recognize her
goddess,
immediately.
goddess, femshep, all
I'll
the
say
way.
Femshep, Bastila, yeah, all the good shit. Yes.
And she was telling, and it's not my story to tell, but we were talking about a moment where she was talking to a relative about their hands and how they had very similar hands genetically, and how her uncle kind of passed on the hands to her. We're in the middle of record telling me this story, and that's the fun thing about records is like that scene in the diner started to change based upon her story, and as we were talking about kind of resemblance and family and inheritance, the scene started to write itself during the record.
That's
And
awesome.
that's shout out to Jen Hale for just being amazing and sharing that stuff with me in the middle of a record, because when people are vulnerable like that, and I think that's what people are maybe hopefully feeling in the show. There's a sense of vulnerability in the show.
Oh, absolutely.
And it really came from everybody, including the actors, especially Lenore. Jesus. Lenore had to go to some places during this show that I think, and pull on stuff
Oh, I
that,
bet.
I don't think she even was aware we were going to take her there. But it really is a collaborative effort, some of those scenes. But that diner scene is just also a favorite memory of just kind of jamming with Femshep and trying not to geek out.
I'm not sure many other showrunners would have done that either. That you
No, yeah, that's
stopped,
awesome.
listened,
Awesome,
and
yeah.
adapted based on that moment because you actually cared, as opposed to next thing.
I know there's a lot of questions, and I know there's one question from the chat here, and I know Zack has a question as well. I just want to get to it there, Beau. Vex has a question here for you. Is Beau able to offer us any insight into whether he may return to Disney Marvel, given the positive response to 97?
Hashtag rehire Beau DeMayo. Say the word.
Yes.
Damn it, Vex, that was my question.
I love that hashtag. I can't comment on that.
Okay, good. So that means we're doing it.
Okay.
Hashtag Beau DeMayo.
I was just gonna say-
rehire Beau DeMayo is in full
Start the
effect.
campaign right now on social media.
100%.
Yeah, put it out there.
Yes.
There's another super chat here. I just want to quickly go through these quickly because they're starting to come in quickly here. Wyatt Eastman, to you, Beau. Beau DeMayo single-handedly got me back into the series shows. Incredibly brilliant and vastly underrated. Looking forward to the future work for sure.
Thank you.
Well, dude, it's you shocked the hell out of me because this is what I want. I grew up reading Claremont and Byrne and
Me too.
and Cockrum, and I love the X-Men. That was my thing, and you brought it to life for me. I was so in awe of what you did with it. And all I can say is thank you, because it was like some of the episodes I never cry, but I almost had a tear in my eye. I was just like, damn, he hit me there. Yeah, you hit me there. Like seriously, I was like, this is brilliant writing. Like this
Thank you.
This is what we want.
Oh, the hashtag's already going off.
Oh yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
There's one thing that nerds are good at. We're good at organizing.
That is very
2 seconds. I did it. I swear.
I know Zach's been waiting patiently. I know he has a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm dying. Okay, one dude. I fucking love you, man. Because like being a hardcore comic book reader, a huge fan, and stuff. What I was super stunned that you did for the show, and it got spoiled for me because people who get to social media like to throw spoilers out there. That scene where Spider-Man pops in, just like that, dude, had me freaking out. And you fixed a plot, that thing that was never answered from the old show. And even though you were writing and even though you were writing X-Men, what made you want to bring Spider-Man, even if it was a cameo thing for a second for that episode and for the future? What made you want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, look, when I was writing the first season and working on the first season, I didn't know what the future of the show was going to be, or the future of me. Let's be honest and read between the lines there. And so I came at it from a place of like, you got to shoot your shot. You got one shot to shoot. And so there was all these things that I wanted to kind of talk about, cameo. But one of them was I was always so frustrated that we never got to find out about MJ and Spider-Man. And so
that's my favorite crossover as a kid is when he goes for help to the X-Men.
I mean, I mean, come on, when he's making fun of Storm, Power of Webs, do your was it sticky stuff or whatever?
It was crossovers before the crossovers.
Yeah, and so like I knew I kind of was wanting to bring some of that crossover feel into it, but I just knew that I wanted to do an MJ shout out if I could find a way to do it, and I knew we were going to be building towards Asteroid M. And this big kind of the fate of the world rests on the X-Men shoulders, as it always is prone to do. And so, I mean, that's what that came from. There were versions of the scripts that, had a little bit. There was a version, here you go. Here's an exclusive little nugget, where Spider-Man actually was supposed to help Jubilee and Roberta when they're being mobbed there before Storm shows up. But it was a timing issue and script length issue, and also stepped on Storm's beat. So there were we toyed with the idea of Spidey getting to do more, but I think what I wanted to accomplish with this was to give people something that felt distinctly different than what they were getting in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, shout out to how you handled Jubilee too, by the way. You made her not like just sparkly shit coming out of her hands. Like you actually saw.
Not like this angsty crybaby little teen.
No,
Jubilee
she
gets
leveled
a
up
lot of. Jubilee gets so much hate, but if any of us got taken out of a mall by a sentinel, thrown to this crazy school, we would be as weird and flummoxed as she was.
No, but you broke the VCR just by touching it.
Yeah. I mean, look at the thing that I'll never understand about Jubilee, and I was laughing at the Leewalds about this. Her parents call the mutant control registration agency on her in episode 1 of the original series, right?
That's right.
And then right before she goes to join Xavier's school, she's like, "You're the best foster parents ever." I'm like, "Really? You called the mutant Stasi on your thought? No,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So like
you Gestapo'd your kid.
You Gestapo'd your own child. Like, so I have and Holly who voiced Jubilee did such a great job. I mean, Jubilee, I think everybody kind of was very curious how we updated her.
Yeah.
And brought her into the new era. And Sunspot was a key component of like reversing the roles there. So Jubilee's the mentor now.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that you enjoyed what we did with Jubilee, because that was a fun one.
And bringing back the original voice actors, that was a decision that we always talk about. Like, wow, look, they did it.
Yep. That was something that was, baked in from Go, was that we would try to get as many back in roles as possible, as many roles as possible. And we were able to do it. And I mean, let me tell you guys, like, just as a geek, I still was never used to being in a recording of the original cast and not feeling like that I need to pinch myself. It was.
I would have been freaking out.
It's still weird to this.
Because then you have to direct them. How's that?
Yeah.
Directing and critiquing the experts.
You fake it till you make it. Honestly.
Yes. Cheers. That's definitely true, Beau.
Like, you just kind
we're
of do
doing
that
right now.
And also, by the way, they're amazing. Every single one of those OG cast members, amazing. But also, when you get to know them as people, they kind of just are their characters.
Yeah.
Like, they really are those characters in real life too. Especially Lenore.
Lenore
is amazing and is just very much Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't imagine any other voice.
Yeah.
I just want to do a quick shout out to, because we got some people here that have some questions for you, Beau. And Vaughn, do you have a question? Because you're next up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course,
just quickly.
Died right when I
no, I'm just going to quickly I want to do a shout out to Joker for all the memberships, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. And then Josh has a question for you, Beau. Why do you think so many creators struggle to adapt comic properties respectively, while also making it feel fresh and original? You make it look easy. Thank you for making a quality show.
Well, thank you. My pleasure. I didn't know I made it look easy. I was hoping I was doing like the Lucius Fox Morgan Freeman thing in Batman Begins, where he overly explains how difficult it is just to make the point to Bruce Wayne, because it's not easy at all. And I think that's the thing, guys, is like as much as we sit, and I sat where you guys, I was on superherohype.com when I was growing up, on forums arguing with people about Wizard magazine, for those people who remember Wizard magazine.
Oh yeah.
I think there is a belief that people take on and creators take on comic books with the intention of like making something shitty. There is not a person I have met in this industry that does not give their whole damnedest to try to make the best thing they think it should be. The stumbling block I think we hit is realizing when something maybe isn't for you.
I don't think anyone realizes that, and that's what the problem is. That's the nicest way that you could say it. People are taking projects they probably shouldn't take because they do not have the love and respect that you clearly do, and it's led to some disastrous results.
It led to some disasters, but I would even say with those, have some grace that that person was doing their best to try to crack something. You know, it's tricky. It's really tricky, guys. Like I had a lot to learn when I finally got behind the scenes, right? About how things work. And, you know, I think everyone takes on a project with a whole heart. I really do believe that. I think we've all sat through some of those movies where we're like, what the fuck was this person thinking? And it's you'd be surprised how many times it wasn't that person thinking.
Did you have anyone keeping you in check? Like not from the corporate, but just like how George Lucas famously had, Marshall Lucas and other people like, maybe don't do that. Did you have anyone that you were bouncing ideas that you trusted?
Honestly, the one thing I have to say here that I really, and I don't know if it was by design or just people were busy, is, Brad kind of came on, we had the idea, and then he kind of let me do my thing. And obviously we would, he would review scripts and we would talk, but I don't know if it was like the quality of what I was doing or just trust. But like, both. I didn't get a lot of notes.
They just let him cook, I guess.
That's it. They just let him cook. Yeah.
It's a good meal. I think also just it being the animations. It was the studios. Still early days at Marvel Animation. Right. I think I kind of benefited from the same thing that the Leewalds did, where no one was kind of looking.
That's what Metalis, I think, happened. Everyone just didn't pay attention. He got that third season. He made something good. You were able to make something good when mom and dad weren't looking.
And so you just you're quiet. You try to make the people above you's job easier. You do your best to manage upwards. And I think that's the thing. But going back to the thing of like what creators struggle with, I think sometimes there are a lot of hurdles, guys, between making something good and getting it delivered to you guys. There's a lot of hurdles from just money, budget, franchise, marketing. And that's why I kind of urge people as much as possible to go easy on creators. Because we get put into a position sometimes where we're defending creative choices that actually we weren't a part of.
And I'd love if you could speak out. I know you guys, that's the thing is we know you can't always speak out, but it's so much better when you guys come out and can say like, guys, we're not the ones doing this, but your hands are tied.
And this is the thing. I will say, like with X-Men, there's not a lot of those things because I got to do what I got to do. And I think I'm trying to think if there's anything that like I would go, that wasn't me. Not really, actually.
That's a rarity, I think.
And sometimes you don't speak out of respect to people involved. There's a lot of variables, and I don't mean to sound like an apologist or making excuses. It's a hard industry, guys. It's a hard industry to make anything good right now. And it's a hard thing when you're dealing with beloved fan projects. Yeah. Because you're always going to disappoint somebody, right?
Well, I appreciate the honesty, because we always get the fluff, right? We always get the the political answers and everything like that, and no one wants to give us the be honest, But Vaughn has a question for you, Beau. So he's been waiting patiently.
So I'm huge, I love X-Men stuff too, and I'm wondering what's your favorite Claremont X-Men storyline?
The one I could not adapt. God Loves Man Kills.
Oh
yeah.
They wouldn't let you do that one?
No, it was my own personal choice. I think Bryan Singer did such a great job with X-Men 2 that it would have felt a little too soon to me. And I feel like, I don't know, I just wanted to make sure that we were always doing stuff that was a little different and new that people hadn't seen. And I struggled to think, like, there was a time very early where I considered Gollum's Man Kills. But with Xavier being off-world, it never really fit into the narrative appropriately. It would have had to occur in the back half of the season, which doesn't really make sense. You're entering the third act of the season to introduce William Stryker, and it just never felt like it was going to lend itself naturally. And it also complicated Magneto's arc if I wanted him to be in a redemptive state. So I don't know. I just felt like, they did it. They did it well. It's one of the X-Men movies that we, for the most part, all enjoy. Dancing around that really delicately.
By the way, you timed his redemption very well. As someone who is a Marvel normie, I'm a DC. Like, I grew up with the animated series Batman, obviously, and Spider-Man, and what I knew of Marvel was the X-Men. Like, and still, so I did not know Xavier. Obviously, I knew Xavier would come back at some point, but like how everything panned out, it was new to me for the first time. And yeah, you got me. You got me on the whole arc of it.
I just have an enormous amount of respect that you had, that storyline in mind, and you knew that ground had already been treaded upon, and that for the good of the show, you had something that you really wanted to do, and you realized that you couldn't do it. And I was like, I respect that restraint. And man, the finished product was just everything I hoped for.
You asked earlier about what do creators sometimes struggle with when adapting comics or anything of fandom, right? I will say the most annoying thing, the thing that kept me up at night or staring at my computer or when I was watching an edit, is how do you give fans what they want and expect, but also still surprise them? It was
right. Well, I mean, all we want is the characters to be treated well, and with respect, and do things that aren't out of character, and not to be made to look horrible, so other characters look good. And that's what we have not been getting. So as far as once you get through all that, you just start writing the characters. I think you would know, and you've seen it yourself, that the characters write what would the character do. If you're actually writing the character, it finds itself.
But it's also
right?
like, I know you guys want to see. I mean, I know I want to see Fatal Attractions. I know I want.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you deliver? I think this is the hardest thing for anybody who's adapting. How do you deliver those, but keep it from you guys seeing it coming?
I have to tell you this. I woke my wife up. Like we were watching it, and I went, "Oh my God, they're doing it!"
I was so excited because that was something that I had talked about early on in the show, because I didn't know you guys were going to go there this season. And I was talking to my co-host on Ott and Stuff, Sean, and we were like, dude, what if they adapt the Fatal Attraction storyline? How awesome would that be to see finally, and like 4 weeks later, there it is. And he's texting me because he watches the show before I do. And he's like, dude, take an early lunch, because I was working. He's like, you have to watch this episode. And I watched it, and I was just like, holy shit, man, they did it. I was like, I can't believe you guys did it. I was like, it was the best thing. I was like, hell yeah.
X-Men 25. It's funny. I'm a little bit known for my thirst traps on Instagram. I had to take down I have a shit ton of X-Men 25 shit in my office and around my house.
Nice.
I had to take all of it down when I was taking pictures because I just didn't want anybody to be like, "There's a lot of
put it back up now." Hashtag rehire Beau DeMayo. Let's just throw it back up.
It was just like, oh, they're gonna start noticing that I'm like that end game for the show or for the season 1 was X-Men 25.
Well, you have clout beyond clout with fans now, which not many people do, because you said you were a fan, you said you liked and respected the material, and then you developed and did something that showed that you did in fact like and respect the material.
Even down to like earlier. So I'll be honest, I have only seen episode 1 so far because I've just been so busy. But I'm a huge X-Men fan, and even just little things like you saying, "What's your favorite splash page?" Right? Like no one, people who are like kind of geeks, they'll be like, they won't ask questions like that. That's how that you're just so into this stuff. And I love.
I grew up on this stuff. It's and there's a lot of us out here, and I think some people thought I was putting on a front, but it's like, no, I am an honest to God geek.
Because many do. That's why we're glad you didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
half the times when I'm on Twitter, I'm also like playing Spider-Man and just swinging around the city. And I mean, I work too in my but most of the time I'm just geeking out and just being a dork. And that was very much a lot of the people on the show were just tried and true dorks.
Yeah.
Well, sorry.
No, I got a question for you. So, you're an X-Men, fan, true and true. Is there any other books or any other series that you would love to get your hands on? And the second question to follow that up is, did you talk to Chris Claremont at all to get any kind of insight to, how you wanted to go about this?
Chris and I did not get to speak during the process of it.
Okay.
And that was not by design. It was just, I think, like when you're making a show, it is literally a gauntlet of just, especially like writing it's one thing, but when you're show running it, it's, my mentor out here says show running is basically you wake up at 8 a.m., someone lets loose a fire hose in your face, and someone turns it off around midnight. And that's kind of what you're just dealing with approvals and design approvals, and then you're writing and then rewriting and listening to the score. So there just was never a shot or a time for us to kind of touch base. But I also think like the man's work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the fun of it. Was he has such a clear narrative voice that I didn't feel like and this is no disrespect to him, I just felt like he gave me everything I needed. And I think hopefully it's become clear that I've told people many times, like, the show stands on the shoulders of other giants who really had to break these stories from the blank page in a way that I didn't have to. In terms
you struggled where a lot of other people fumbled the ball. You struggled. A lot of people fumbled the ball, and that's why we're saying you made it look easy, because clearly it was a lot of hard work, but somehow you did it.
Yeah.
How do we replicate this in every other writing room across the board? Dear, please God, only hire people that love the material.
So yeah, is there other books that you would like to tackle, like because you're a comic book fan?
I mean, I'm always gonna be a huge Batman fan. Okay, this is weird. I have a weird soft spot for the Demon Etrigan. Mainly because anybody who speaks in spoken verse,
you're gonna rhyme all the time. Yeah,
I just find that such an interesting narrative, like Gone, the form of man. I'm just like, yes, I wish I could introduce myself that way.
So Beau DeMayo writing Justice League Dark. You heard it here. All the super sites. Yeah.
But those are like the Dr. Fate is actually another one too. I love Dr. Fate.
Oh, that would be sweet.
But I mean, in terms of Marvel, I mean, it was always going to be X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Still might be if hashtag rehire Beau DeMayo works.
Let's get it.
Andrew or Vaughn, who was it that spoke there?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, even down to like you get characters like the New Mutants, right? Like, would you, if you ever got the chance, would you do New Mutant stuff?
I think more than New Mutants would be Generation X.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like you'd kill the Demon Bear saga. Like, I'd love to see the.
I mean, Demon Bear is amazing. I just think like Generation X though, it's the '90s boy in me. The costumes. You have Emma, and I think, who remembers the pilot for Generation X that they tried to make in the 90s?
The TV show? Yeah. I remember it.
I watched Mutant X. I don't know if that's related, but
it was the coolest thing when I was a kid, because it was the first time you saw like something live action. You watch it back now if you get a chance.
It's not
bad.
But I
do remember that.
I think there would be a way to do Generation X mixed with New Mutants in terms of like kind of how I blended Morrison with Claremont. I think there's a way to do it. But Generation X is always gonna, in terms of my Young Mutant teams, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for those guys.
I got a question, Beau, if you wouldn't mind. So you throughout the series you had so many kind of, I don't want to even say Easter eggs, but certain directions where the story could have gone, and and I touched on this earlier where I said, oh my God, they're using this, and I'm excited for it. Were any of those just blatant misdirects because you wanted to throw them in, or is it all going somewhere?
And give me an example of one that you think could have been a misdirect.
Well, or show something. Well, not any spoilers, but that vision of Gambit as Death. Are we going to see some Age of Apocalypse type stuff, or?
I will say this. What I will say this, and I am a meticulous plotter, partly because I literally am clinically OCD, so dangling threads literally drive me. It's literally like it's an issue for me. So I do tend to plot from my neurosis, to be quite frank. So if it's there for a reason.
Yeah, see, there's a couple of times where we've been like, "Hey, look," and we point to something, and then the actual showrunner goes, "What was that?" They didn't even know what the fans were talking about. But I somehow believe you when you say if it was there for a reason.
No, like everything is there for a reason. Sometimes, sometimes for reasons that will only become clear later, I will say. Other times it's to just say, hey, we are aware that this character is in the universe, but we may not have plans with this character.
Seeing Captain America again was nice too. Just because the Secret Wars crossovers.
I know Andrew or Joe have a question. One of you guys and Zaxx chime in. And Beau, I just want to say thank you for coming on
thank you.
and joining us. It's been awesome getting to know you and hearing your insight to all this. It's been an absolute pleasure taking your time out of your day to join us. I can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes. Joe, you have a question?
Yeah. So some of the pushback that I saw, two things, pushbacks. One, a lot of people thought that the women weren't going to be drawn sexy, like all the curves were going to be taken out of them, just modern day, whatever. And I pushed back on that after seeing the show because of very much the women were portrayed like women, the men were portrayed like men, and like the Goblin Queen. When you had that scene, that was just like, obviously you can't do the actual Goblin Queen costume.
Yeah.
That would be a little much. But
did you try?
But the way that it was modified, for the show, I think was done fantastic. And that was one of my big excitements is that the women, I'm a dude. I still like to look, I grew up in love with Rogue, when I was a teenager. Like I was literally in love.
Let's be fair, there's a couple Rogue shots that are not flattering. That being said, that Goblin Queen sure redeemed a lot of people that were naysaying it. I was like, all right, well,
I was just saying, like, shout out to the fact that you just, that the women were still drawn the way that they should be. They're strong, they're powerful, they're sexy, all that stuff combined. It was in the show still.
It was something like, it was funny when I was seeing people getting mad about that because like sometimes you're just looking at a shot and you do change proportions in modern day animation, especially to better make it look good. My grammar there may be a little weird, but like. There are just sometimes if the character is just too voluptuous or too bulky, like they're not gonna look good in a piece of action. I will say Goblin Queen, we never tried the original costume, not because we thought it was too risque. Two things really. One, from an animation standpoint, that costume is next to impossible to animate. The physics of it does not make sense. It looks great on a single page in a static frame, but the moment that starts moving about, there are too many things to keep track of. To be quite frank with you. Two, the bigger change that we did make is, in the comics, she becomes Goblin Queen much later after giving birth to Nathan. If you think about the accelerated timeline we're on, she becomes Goblin Queen the day after she gives birth to Nathan. There is no way. There is no way she is wearing that costume.
Baby weight.
Well, she still looked damn good in it.
And we wanted to but we actually really did want, because that story is so much about motherhood and kind of can be taken as kind of a slight subtextual kind of exploration of postpartum. We wanted to make sure that we were respectful to where she would have been at that time versus if it had been a few months and now she's had Nathan, she's worked off the baby weight and she's great and now she's looking at Havoc and all that stuff that happened there. We possibly, but I also just think that had we ever tried to do that actual costume, which is generous calling what she wears as Goblin Queen in the comics a costume, I just think animation wise it would have just been such a horror. Like even when you're watching a scene where you see characters and they're all tattered, right? And their costumes all tattered up. it's actually a lot to track continuity wise.
Yeah.
For an
Mhm.
Well,
animation
yeah, let's
show.
face it. It makes Vampirella look modest.
I mean, yeah, Vampirella
well,
looks
yeah.
like a nun. So, it was something we talked about, but I will say there was never a point where it was like, these characters are too sexy. If anything, part of the thing that I talked about, and Amelia talked about, our character designer, that Jake Castorina talked about, was that the X-Men, more than any of Marvel's properties, are inherently sexy.
Of
I'll take it.
course,
Yeah.
that was the point. Is they were filled with hot women and men.
Who all
Rogue
were
and
trapped in
Storm,
the
they're all supposed to
mansion.
be hot, sexy. Yeah,
Trapped
but
in the
still
mansion
strong.
together and
Yeah.
all want to sleep together. Like literally, that is the X-Men. And so, I think what I do like is that we did make slight adjustments based upon the characters. Like I remember talking at one point with Amelia and saying like Rogue shouldn't be the skinniest zero waist. This is a woman who really isn't having sex. Let's be real. She can't.
Mhm.
She's a Southern gal.
Yeah.
And she's also a bigger gal. Her power sets. She's a powerhouse. So like wanting her body to be more
It's a Superman
representative.
analogy. Like she would break Gambit even if she could touch him.
Basically, yes. But also like Jubilee.
By snoo.
But you look at
yeah.
Jubilee. Jubilee's a mall
Yeah.
rat. She's eating chili dogs, popcorn, and playing video games. She's not going to the gym. And
Right.
like we needed to make sure that was represented in the characters as well, and the way they looked. And Amelia, our character designer, another unsung hero, literally came in with these character designs and did not have a single note when she did her first pass on the character designs that got her the
Oh, nice.
job. So hats off to her. I love Amelia down in Argentina.
Who was like when it came to the animation part, because like, you captured that 90s feel for the animation,
Mhm.
because some people were talking about it, well, this isn't like modern, this is like they're trying to compare it to like Arcane or Blue Eye Samurai or whatever, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
this is like supposed to be set in the 90s, like captured it, like the
Mhm.
artwork, the standard definition, like even though it's not standard definition, it still gives that vibe of standard definition. How much say did you have into that, and like how was it working with the animation team, because like they pulled off a fantastic job, like the Nightcrawler Wolverine fight scene with
fantastic.
that was like that is top notch.
By the way,
Yeah.
Nightcrawler was dope. That's a great characterization. You made him so
Amazing.
fun and just the way he should be, and still religious. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, so in terms of the say, like, pretty much me and Jake Castorina, who was the head director on the show, we had final say when it came to all animation. And we did a lot of exploration in terms of the look and vibe of how do we capture a 2D feel. But also the trick, if you're not familiar with the 90s, that you can watch the show and not go, this looks shitty and old. We did have versions where we played with very extreme looking types of VHS, standard def. I think at one point we loosely talked about 4:3. We talked a lot about different formatting, but then aired on the side of like, okay, we want to be widescreen, we want it to feel modern, we have to be able to compete with shows like Castlevania.
I think you found a balance, because it was off-putting to me at first, and the more I looked at it, the more maybe I acclimated, because I was so used to the original. But it's recognizable.
It's a little bit of a maggot trick.
Yeah.
But then what you did have is like, I would sit through the board pitches, and board pitches are when, the directors and the storyboard artists are presenting static boards to me based upon the script. And my job there is to kind of just look is like, do I feel like this does the script, is telling the story, and is vibing with what I want to do. Like one of my big rules was close-ups, that I wanted to go back to extreme close-ups.
Nice.
I was always encouraging the directors to watch telenovelas, old episodes of All My Children, old soap operas.
Porque Maria.
Yes, to go back to that hyper real melodrama where you would push in on someone's face, which we've moved away from in modern, I think, just directing period live action or animation. And so that was like the big rule and kind of joke during board pitches was Beau's going to ask for close-ups. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm just going to continue to sing Chase's praises when it comes to episodes 8 and 10. Like he had to do both those episodes. And 10, I think, nearly broke him in the best way possible. But him and his team really just when the thing about Chase and his team is I would have notes, but for the most part, they just understood the assignment. So when I was giving any more additional notes, it was additive and plussing versus corrective.
Okay.
Which when you're working with a director is so fun when you feel like you're jamming with them versus trying to say, hey, you need to get it right, please.
Yeah, what made you decide to give Cyclops the glow up that he got? Because I was
You gave
fully
such a
much
good
like
job with
oh my
Cyclops.
Oh,
God,
Cyclops is
Finally,
awesome.
I was ready for Cyclops to be pathetic and this and that and what we've seen time and time again. Instead, you did the exact polar
did.
opposite, and
Yep.
you made him respectable and the leader of the team. And yeah, I might be
He's the leader of the
team
team.
Cyclops. Might be
No,
team
he's
Cyclops
the leader
now.
of the team. And
I was
think
always a
any-
Wolverine fanboy.
Yeah, if anybody has watched, I think the Fox movies, I think the biggest injustice that we have all come out of is just like, come on, guys, like,
Yeah.
is that all we could have done with Cyclops?
Mm.
And I think that was my guy. I've always loved Cyclops, both just in the comics and in the original cartoon. I think he's a really kind of, again, I'm adopted. I have orphan issues, so I've always kind of tapped into his abandonment issues myself, and I mean that's kind of where it came from. And I actually, a lot of his moves that you guys saw were like things that I used to do with the toy when I was a kid. Like the
Oh, really?
Is
Oh,
the
wow.
shooting the eye blast down to slow his descent?
That's
that-
literally something my mom reminded me of that I used to do
Oh,
with the
that's
action
cool.
figure. When I
That's
told her-
dope.
Wow.
When I told her I
Yeah.
got
Awesome.
the job, she was like, "Remember when you used to do this with the can? You make him
Because
look
when he
like
was
this?"
falling, it reminded me of Batman and the Justice League waiting for someone to say, just a reminder, I can't fly. I mean, it said Cyclops like, nah. And that's just
And
what
that
a
was the
Chad
point, is to
move.
make you guys go like, well,
Yes.
what are you supposed to do?
Who's
It's
going to
like,
help
guys,
him? No one. He's got
remember,
agency.
It's
Well,
concussive beams.
Yep.
They're
We
not.
were talking
laser
about this
beams.
earlier, Bo.
Concussive,
Another
yes,
thing that I
concussive.
like that you did with Cyclops, and I know me and Badger just talked about this, is you let it be known that like Wolverine respects Cyclops, and there's like a
Yes.
camaraderie there. They're so animus in the original cartoon towards one another that, and especially in the first X-Men film, you would think that they absolutely hate each other.
Yeah.
And I think you did a good job reflecting that they don't, and that Wolverine, with all of his experiences that he's had, with his longevity, still takes a look at Cyclops and goes, no, that's the leader of the team. And and it was like, and that really, really shone through on this, and that was awesome to see.
The other thing I want to mention too is the way you captured Aurora Storm.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you put her in that black uniform, that was classic Storm.
I
It was
literally
awesome.
shouted at that scene.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
wife was sitting my daughter was playing a game or something, and I shouted out loud. I was like, "Oh, it's the classic uniform!" Because I was like so excited.
Yeah.
I did not expect it. I was that was great.
No, I Storm. I think that's another character that all of us have felt at one time or another maybe didn't get the service they were due. And I think for her it was, I had, I got the pitch. I pitched this at the end of 2020.
Okay.
So Black Lives Matter was very much in my headspace, and just so I thought it was important to tell a story that kind of spoke to Black people, Black women specifically, but also was accessible to everyone else. And so isolating her and life death kind of provides that perfect siloed story arc for us, where we can kind of have some of those discussions about colonialism and about, without getting too on the nose and didactic about it, obviously. But she was another one that I knew from Go. I want to put her in the giant size X-Men costume. I knew pretty early.
grew up.
Walk going to. That was
I always
awesome.
thought Storm was badass, so it was great to see her
Yeah.
equally
she's
still
a great
badass.
character.
Yeah.
I always, even though I'm a Jim Lee guy, I never was crazy about the white costume. The original costume is so much cooler, and I'm so cool. I'm so glad.
Well,
we
there's
put
some
that in there.
significant debate. Is that costume white, silver, or black?
Well, yeah, there you go.
The Jim
Yeah,
Lee
I personally, I
costume.
always thought it was silver growing up.
And now there's a whole subsection that say it's actually black. It's just the reflection. I don't know. I just put her in the
Interesting.
black costume because I didn't want to answer the question.
Oh, it's like that stupid dress that took over Twitter.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
is
you
it blue and
also
black
did-
or white and gold?
You also
Yeah.
Oh,
you also made the move to put Wolverine in his brown,
The brown,
Yes.
which I think everybody's excited to see because we only got to see that in Pride of the X-Men back in the 80s.
Yeah, when he was Australian.
It's been yellow and blue. So that move, I was extremely excited.
And what's your
about, 'cause
favorite
that's my
splash page? Wolverine
costume.
being lifted up by Magneto and the adamantium that's the one that's ingrained in me as a kid. When I was like, that could happen.
Mhm.
That could happen. I was like 9 when I first heard about that. I was like, oh.
Hey, Beau, was there anything that hit the cutting room floor that like you really wished was in season 1 that didn't make it?
Give me a second. There's something. There was a little bit more fighting in Genosha that I wish we could have put in there, but that episode was already timing out pretty long. What else? Gosh, I feel like there's something, and I'm just forgetting it.
Oh yeah.
There a lot of what we did. I will say this in episode 7. There was a moment where you got a peek into Rogue's mind as she absorbed Henry Gyrick, where he was a little bit. We did like an homage to when Miss Marvel was in her mind, torturing her and screaming at her. If you remember, it was like a psychedelic storm.
Oh, we all remember that. Yeah.
Yep, we had a scene like that with Gyrick, and he was torturing her and taunting her about Gambit's death.
Interesting.
That we took out at boards. It just didn't move the story forward as fast as we needed it to. So that was like one of those areas that I think there's a scene on the cutting room floor. There's a line on the cutting room floor from episode 2 that I missed to this day, where when Jean's in the Jeep with Wolverine, and there was a line where she goes, I've consumed whole stars, but this hurts so much worse. That had like a nice little callback to the Phoenix and her giving birth. That Jennifer Hill did a great job. And then there was also a small cameo of Morph training the gladiators to fight some of the protesters. That we had to cut for time. I mean, those episodes are packed.
Yeah.
Packed.
Yeah, you really used economy of episode timing.
Yeah.
The one thing I do want to touch on before I get it to a super chat and a question here, Beau, but the fight scenes in general, you captured the way the X-Men battle as a team. Like when you saw Gambit with Wolverine lighting up the claws, then jumping onto more
what's your first?
the blob, and then you have like the way they worked as a team, like that's like it was bang on perfect. Like that's like you're like, this is how the X-Men are, like that's how they battle. And then the second part here is from Vex here, who has a question for you. Does Beau have any upcoming projects that we can look forward to?
So first, on that first thing, I will say, like, one of the first things that Jake Castorina and I talked about when we first met about the show, and if you rewatch episode 1, there's a moment when the jet blows up. And Jake directed that episode and actually boarded that specific sequence where Rogue and Storm look at each other and kind of nod and then go and catch people.
Yeah.
And Jake had added that in because, he had this, we were like talking about how the Avengers don't probably practice together. The X-Men have the Danger Room. It's a football team. And so there's a playbook that all of them know that they don't even need to say out loud anymore. And so we really just tried with a lot of the action scenes that a lot of their movements together they're intuitive because they have practiced all these scenarios so many times. And so you'll look at little moments that the directors would build in where the characters just look at each other and they kind of know the play. It's one of my favorite moments of like watching through the show, but especially in episode 1, the look that Rogue and Storm, or it's even the look that Storm gives Cyclops after she turns the desert to glass, of just like, yeah, I'm the sniper. I am the game, that comes in. In terms of future projects, there are a few, but I can't talk about them just yet.
I sure hope it's live action X-Men. Maybe they'll bring you back to that. Because otherwise, like, how terrified are you that they're going to undo all of your hard work with the live action adaptation that misses all of the lovely points that
they
you
can't
just
undo
made?
it. They can't undo it.
Yeah, I would hope.
Quickly before, oh no, Beau, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, so many creators have done their version of X-Men.
Yeah,
I think that's what's exciting. And if anything, I missed being a fan when I was working on the show. If
Oh,
that
really?
makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like I don't get to experience the show that you guys because I like did it. So
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to actually being a fan again. That can be surprised because I haven't had that now. I mean, I guess Deadpool will be the first time I get to do that when I
Come
see
back
that
on here and
movie.
we'll talk about it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. What were you
Yeah.
gonna ask? And then I do have to hop in like 5 minutes to go make dinner.
Yeah, no, thank
You've
you.
been very
yes.
generous with your time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you
Yes,
so much.
thank
you.
You rock, man.
I'll save the super chat. Beau, I hope you watch us do the reviews here, and you can hop on anytime.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I want to. I know you have to leave, but thank you so much for taking the time to come in, answer all these questions.
Of course.
Does anyone have one last question before
Yeah.
Beau has to go? Hey, Zaxx,
I got,
go ahead, bro.
this is not a quick one. Hopefully I can make it quick for you, but you took this job. It was probably, I'm going to guess, one of your dream jobs. It's a franchise you love. You love these characters. You know these characters. What was that ride like from beginning to end? And the product is done. You stepped back from, how did that feel? Like, did you feel that there's more to do, or that you've really accomplished something great, which you did do?
Oh, is he there? Beau?
Did we
Can
lose him?
you hear me?
Yeah,
There you
we
go.
can
Oh,
hear
we
you.
can
now.
hear you
You're good.
No, I said that's a very emotional question. I mean, I'm probably gonna talk soon about just overall how I feel because I have been still processing this entire experience. To be honest with you guys, one, just the fans' love of the show. I wrote the show, and I think the major theme, hopefully, people take away is like the power of feeling seen. And I think that is whether you're a minority or you're a fan, you just want to feel seen and heard. And so like the big thing that has been for me very emotional has been feeling seen and heard by fans, which was something I didn't expect that I would be feeling. So, absolutely it was easily, I would say, one of the hardest 4 years of my life making this show. It was exhausting. It was excruciating work. But when I kind of saw the final episode 10 come in, there was nothing but pride. There was nothing but pride. And a subtle hope that I didn't fuck it up.
No, it was.
did.
You
Did
didn't.
not fuck it up.
You didn't.
Yeah,
You did not fuck it up.
yeah.
And then, I watched every episode, with bated breath on, will they like it? Will they like it? Will they like it? And when we finally got to episode 10, whether, I don't care what type of fan you are, just seeing like having kind of had a small hand and being able to make X-Men fans feel a little bit more united than I think they've been lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
To me was
We
kind
felt
of the
seen.
ultimate. No, that was the goal.
Literally,
And,
we felt
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you have to leave, and there's two
Yep.
things I want to quickly do.
Yeah.
Zack wants to show you his piece of work that he's done because he does a drawing at every episode when we do these
Yeah, I
reviews.
saw him
do-
working over there.
Yeah. But before we do that, I just want to quickly get this in here because Josh has sent a super chat in, and I thank you so much for the super chats. Thoughts on Pride of the X-Men? Have you gave some nods to it throughout
Yep.
the season?
Way more
even if
Colossus.
just costumes. We need more Colossus. Also, have you seen Mateo Lane doing Storm quotes?
Oh yeah, Mateo and I actually are we've talked quite a few times actually. Even when I was making it, Mateo and I were swapping DMs as he was trying to figure out what I was doing.
Oh,
with the
that's
show.
awesome. Yeah.
Very sweet guy. And yeah, absolutely Pride of the X-Men. Absolutely, that was designed to be a callback and getting them those costumes. There was a small moment where I toyed with the fact of retroactively revealing that we could integrate Pride of the X-Men into the continuity of the original show. Because I think what Larry did there is just so amazing. However, it just presented too many continuity issues.
Nice.
I want to say quick. I loved how you gave us a little bit of magic. Glenn Rasmussen through Morph, and like it was only 10 seconds, but that brought it home for me for whatever reason. I was sold at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to say shout out to Alchemy going deep tonight. Keep up the good work, Gooch. Thank you so much. And then Zack finally wants
Let's
to
see
show
this
his
work.
piece here.
Bro,
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, I am scared, bro. Because I didn't think you were gonna be on
Fuck
the
yeah,
show
that's
tonight.
amazing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Dude,
Good job.
that's beautiful.
Like I like
Yeah.
I put her in the mountains where she's like getting her powers and
Talk about
whatnot.
that.
That's
Proportions.
amazing, man.
My favorite. She's my favorite X-Men. So
Yeah.
I
Zach,
hope
you're about to get
you'll-
hired.
That's amazing. Oh my god,
Thank
that's
you.
so cool. But no, I'll definitely check back on here as you guys are doing it. I just literally walked through my door, so I'm gonna go make some dinner here. But please continue the discussion, and I'll pop back in for another episode review in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Bo. Keep in
Thank you,
touch.
man.
I'll
Thank you so
contact
much.
you.
Oh.
Thank you,
Talk
bro.
to you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was awesome.
Wow.
Well, that was metal.
That was really
Well,
cool.
Right as I'm
Episode
about to ask
1 will
my
be
question,
next
my
week.
camera died.
Yeah.
You
All right,
go
now we
get
can talk about
clipped.
the episode.
You go get
No,
clipped
no.
tomorrow. Everyone's going to be writing articles. Beau DeMayo,
That's how you
great
started your
silence.
show.
Beau DeMayo,
Yes,
this, that.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Congratulations, Gooch.
What a
Congratulations,
guy!
Gooch.
What a
will.
great
Yeah,
guy!
that was awesome,
I feel like everything we say in comparison is going to be pretty lame. You'll be
Oh, we
like,
still talking about the episode? The episode was good, bro. You had Beau DeMayo on your fucking show. He hasn't talked. He
Yeah,
hasn't talked. He just
Gooch,
came
that
on
was a
for
home
an
run,
hour.
dude. You fucking hit a home run. You did it.
Thank you, guys. I want to say thank you for the questions. Thank you to everyone in the chat. We were going to do scrub through episode 1. We'll put that off to next week.
Yeah.
I think what we'll do
Do 2
tonight.
episodes next week.
Yeah, what we'll do tonight, we'll just talk and soak in what we just experienced tonight. Because Bo,
Afterglow.
I can't thank him enough. What a gentleman!
That
What a
was
great
awesome.
No
guy!
kidding.
He is a freaking comic book nerd.
Yeah, it's
and it was
evident,
a great time. Guys, thoughts on what we just heard from Beau DeMayo? Like,
We're in a simulation, and that was scripted, but it was awesome that it was scripted that way, that he just popped on randomly.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
just like not
The
even a
fuck?
possibility tonight. When I was like,
What?
all right, I'm going to talk about X-Men.
Yeah.
I
I'm telling
think
you, dude. I'm telling you, it was the jean jacket with the collar pop.
Do you
He
think
saw
he just
that
got
I
tired?
meant business.
I bet you he got tired of just people making up shit and just saying what they think happened. So he was just like, "Oh, I'll just say my own." So he seems to have like great feelings about everything, even for what. And he was open to the hashtag rehire, which means
Super
maybe
positive.
there's a chance.
They
Well,
better.
yeah, but
I mean-
you don't think we're all gonna get that up and running? I mean, that's
Yes.
I mean, taking the time that was cool. There's a lot of people who could have just said, especially with this type of fan base that was very much like naysayers in the beginning, and was like, but that shows you, we're not difficult to please, man. Just give us what we want.
I just want to answer Vex. I know Vex is just being funny here, but he was on Twitter. I sent him I just quickly said, "Hey, we're reviewing episode 1 tonight. We'd love to see you, watch it, or maybe even possibly join us." It was the blue check mark. It's him. He just finished in the gym, so he was all buff and
soaked.
Soaked up. And so I got a message saying that Beau DeMayo is following you. I'm like, oh, cool. And then it says, well, you're doing this live. And then I'm like, yeah, would you love to join us? And he says, send me the link. So
Nice.
it's Beau DeMayo. So
I think
Making that voice for that long would have been very impressive.
I'm telling you,
yeah.
my chest is beating like really hard because it's one thing when I show people drawings and whatnot. It's a no, like this guy just made this show, and then I gotta have to compete and be like, hey, this is my pretty little picture that I do at the end of every episode.
Vex, very thirsty.
I think the fact that he
Yeah, dude, I ain't
the
even
show
gay,
so
but-
much
Bo?
on Twitter, that he's such a big fan of the show on Twitter that he's promoting it, and then also taking the time out to come out onto a show like this, first time ever. I mean, Jay, your channel is growing really, really well, but it's not like this huge ass channel. And he's like, I'm gonna take the time out to come talk to X-Men fans. Didn't know us, had no idea what it was going to be like, and then spent the last hour and 20 minutes with us. I mean, I think that just shows you like the fan in him, and I think that's why the season was so good, and why I have hope for the second season, and I hope he comes back after that, because who knows after that? Like that's
Plus,
the worry.
Confirmation from Beau that he very much has had fall in love with the straight guy syndrome, and that's what that whole more falling in love with Wolverine thing is written. It's written from a personal place that you can easily dismiss. It's not. I didn't ask him what Wolverine thought about it, because I'm sure he wouldn't be able to tell me.
I think he's
maybe
talked
we'll
about
find
it
out.
on Twitter. I think he's kind of addressed that when it all came out, because he came out and said, "Hey, Wolverine's straight." Like that people that started going crazy, like, "Oh, is Wolverine going to be gay now?" And all
I
this
think
kind of stuff.
people. I'm sick of too much, like, because to be fair, when they first announced X-Men 97, I was like, this is nostalgia bait, this is whatever, and I kept hearing all these news, and then it's like, and then for the fans who were like like, because fans, we don't know, they don't admit they're wrong, especially if they have a platform. So for them to all go, yeah, we were all wrong, guys. Like, that is impressive. That is impressive.
We were right in the sense that, like, yeah, he did. He admitted it. He put and made him non-binary, and some would say that's not a thing. So but that aside, he did do it to start conversation. He said it. That being said, if you were going to do it, Morph was sure as fuck the character to probably do it with, and he did it with some talent and some nuance, and that's the point.
Tact.
If you're going to do it,
he did it well.
If you're going to do things specifically to start a conversation at the expense of said character, it can't be at expense of said character, which is why he did it the way he did it, and it. Quote,
and
unquote,
if it's Morph, like, you know, it's Morph, like
it's Morph. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we're not talking about
It was done for the right reason.
Shut up!
That's what I was trying to get to. I was trying to get like clearly other people
like
get
Morph,
these franchises.
You didn't love Morph, Sammy. Nobody loved Morph.
I have Morph's
I've never
action
liked
figure
Morph.
on my bar right now.
Listen,
I did like
Did you
Morph.
get it from charity?
Morph amuses me. All right, I like Morph.
I like Morph now. I didn't used to like Morph though.
That's the thing. Like, I like him
Morph
now.
was one of my
as a
favorites.
character.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Sammy didn't wear his Magneto helmet, dude. Like,
No,
Oh,
that's gonna be, you know, on a very big Magneto episode. It's in the back. You can see it. You know.
Yes,
Honestly, he answered every question and kept us dangling with like, there's more to come. And
I want.
he's such a great person to come on and answer these like all the schmucks that are on this panel.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and
Thanks.
he can take that personally if you want. I'm joking, but for us, like, just guys, just nerds talking about, like, he is a nerd. He just like, he wants to talk comics, and I love that about him. Like, he's the type of guy that would go into a comic shop and start listen to a conversation and start getting into it, just like debating about you know, who has more powers, who can beat who, or, you know, storylines. And it's like, that's the vibe I get from him. And I say thank you again to Beau DeMayo for coming on.
He
tonight.
seemed the
And
most open to hearing our complaints of like what we're trying to get across. And like, ironically, when he said that thing about being seen, it was like, well, yeah, but that's the point. We have not felt seen. We felt disrespected, that they take these franchises and they corrupt them. And thankfully, he's like, yeah, he sees how not to do that.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise how open he was about everything. Like, that was really cool.
Yeah, 100%.
He gained my respect in that aspect. Like, I've got a whole new. I already respected him because of the show, but now just whole new respect.
Big time.
There's a whole nother level of openness when he didn't get upset when I asked him about Morph and the non-binary stuff. He was like, yeah, that's why we did it.
Well, you didn't ask it like a dick either. You know what I mean?
I tried not to ask it like a dick. Even when I told him, like,
even
I'm very aware you're gay and black.
Still,
like,
even when you asked, I was like,
let's
see how this goes.
Easy way, but he seemed cool enough. First of all, gay guys normally have the best sense of fucking humor, and I almost made a gay bear joke, and he probably would have laughed because they're all real fun. But yeah. He did it for the right reasons, which is what all.
And he seemed very self-aware, like he's heard the criticisms and he wasn't coming out swinging. Which honestly, I think most people on the internet, that's a tough skill to learn, is to get better at just taking the hits. And he seems like a guy that was like, "All right, let me show you what I got." And then he's like, and then everyone just was like, "Okay."
Plus, if he's a real fan, he's used to hanging with real fans. And
it's also, I mean, like, I've met, there's tons of like gay X-Men fans. They talk like every other fan, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Fans. It's not like
Boosh has a good question here. We still need the panel to say who their favorite characters are. Gooch, I agree. So I want to ask that question: who's your favorite character before the series, and who your favorite character is after the series? Now that we've seen it, so I'll start off. Sammy, you go ahead and shoot your favorite character.
I mean, I think everybody's favorite character growing up in the cartoon was probably Wolverine, but like in the comics, I was always a Nightcrawler guy. I just thought he was interesting. I liked his power. I liked playing him in the Sega game. But yes, Zaxx Morph was one of my favorite characters in the original cartoon.
Really?
Yes.
Doubling down.
That's
soon as I started watching the animated series, because I had seen the movies, I was like, "Who's this Morph guy? Is he gonna die?"
No, it was just, you know, he was a tortured soul in the original one. So like when he would show up in episodes, like I always seemed to pay like a little bit more attention, going like, "What's this guy's deal? You know, is he going to make his way back to the X-Men?" And then at the end of the series, you know, they asked him to come back, and he's like, nah, I got to figure some shit out. Like, it was like, I thought that was cool. And then it was cool that he is back and he figured his shit out. So,
Joe.
Gambit.
Yeah.
Gambit was always been my favorite. I love Wolverine, don't get me wrong, but there's something about Gambit,
Head
he got the ladies, he had the cool look, the power set was awesome. He had the French speak in the comics, he had everybody going around saying Mon Ami.
Cajun,
Cajun.
And that bow stab.
Yeah, just everything about that character was just straight up 90s awesome. And he was plus, that's why I was in love with Rogue. Like I was Gambit. I was looking for my Rogue. And but no, Gambit. Straight
and it's the same after the series. It's Gambit, always Gambit.
Still, always Gambit. Like I said, I love Wolverine. He's probably my second. But it's Gambit for me. Like he's the guy I think is the most interesting. Just has a cool ass look. He's a great character.
Badger.
Yeah, I mean, Normie responsive. Yeah, Wolverine. When I was growing up, the only Marvel I was interested in was Wolverine, Spider-Man, or like some variation of other X-Men. Yeah, so Wolverine, but in this series, not Wolverine. Jubilee. I like Jubilee's glow up. I found her far more developed and likable, and the whole relationship with her and Sunspot, did not see that coming. So yeah, Jubilee with the obligatory Wolverine answer. Who I want more love of, even though I know he got 3 seasons full of it. So yeah,
right, yeah.
Zaxx.
Well, growing up, like these were the age of the characters I read. Like this is pen right in there with me with Powerless Storm, with her mohawk, and I was always a big Colossus fan, which he never gets any love.
Yeah, great character.
But in the comics, he was fantastic. He did some cool stuff with Kitty Pryde back in the day, and so I liked. I did like that. So I would say Colossus. Wolverine, obviously, for everyone is kind of up there. Through this show, I mean, I loved Magneto in this series.
Yeah.
I would say.
Fabulous hair.
No,
and in the movies, I would say probably Quicksilver.
Oh, there you go.
Interesting. Andrew.
Going into the show, I don't think I didn't watch the original, so I guess I wouldn't have a favorite. only being Logan. From the Logan movie, just because that movie is so good. But watching this show, it's definitely Magneto or Gambit, or even Rogue. It's triple tie between all three of those. I think Magneto first off, just because episode 2 is just so good.
That's when it sold me. When you brought it up earlier about the scene with him with the council up in orbit, it was watching that scene, listening to his monologue, hearing the score, and that's why I wanted to bring up the score. I was just like, oh, this is a different kind of show. I was like, and I'm sold at this moment.
Yeah, kids are invited, but it's gonna be mature in its content that it wants to tackle.
Yeah, they're not even going to be able to comprehend.
And other things that I wanted to say, these were just general statements. That I saw in the chat. I saw like some people saying, "Oh, this show is just key jangling. It doesn't really, nothing is substantive."
They haven't watched it then.
Yeah, and also I'm not a fan. Like I didn't watch the original show. I was just watching it because I saw hype around it, and I just wanted to watch some good TV. And being a newcomer to the show and the franchise, this show is so well done in how it handles its material and its maturity. And just its writing overall. Like I'm a fan of some fandoms, right? But overall, above all else, I'm a fan of good storytelling, and just good writing in general. And that this show just hits that. Like episode 2, episode 5, both 10 out of 10 episodes of the show. There are some problems that I have, but overall, just a great show in general.
Oh yeah, it's not a perfect show by any means, but the great way outweighs any of the negative stuff you might have about some of the animation here or this or that. You could pick it apart if you really wanted to, but focusing on how great the show actually is and just allowing yourself to have some entertainment I think people don't do that anymore. They don't allow themselves to really sit down and be entertained because
there's
you're always worried
waiting
about
for
the
your
fight or whatever.
reaction. Yeah, I'm sick. I'm kind of sick of it, and that's why for the show initially I was like, you know what, I'm an X-Men fan. I'm gonna tune out because then everyone's gonna be fighting. And then when everyone started going, we like it, every week, I was like, man, I'm working right now, but I will catch up. And finally, Zack was like, all right, Tuesday, you got to watch by then. I'm like, you got to.
They did that to themselves. They did that to themselves and forced us to protect ourselves. There are only a few brave few go and watch it and risk the cancer of watching Acolyte to see if it's worthy for other people to like waste their valuable time on. It's just not a given anymore that something good is going to come out. And so when Beau does put out something that doesn't totally alienate everyone, holy shit, is a surprise, but a welcome one.
I'm a big advocate of liking what you like and without worrying about what other people think. And also truth. I'm a big fan of truth. You know, if something's good, regardless of whoever puts it out, Disney, Marvel, whatever, if it's good, then say it's good. We don't need to shit on it for any reason because of, we're in this culture war. Like the show was legitimately good. Was it perfect? No. Were there some things that made you roll your eyes? Sure. But the overall show, entertaining wise, was fantastic. And why would I rob myself of having a good time, an entertaining time in this world and everything that's going on, to be able to sit down for a half hour every Wednesday for 10 weeks and just be completely entertained about what I was seeing and looking forward to the next show. So
at the end of the
enjoy
day,
yourself.
You know, it's you want to like the reason I X-Men, like I was able to read so many issues is because it would become like a routine, and I need to get back into it where it'd be like a comfort, like, oh yes, I'm back with my guys, my people, my characters, and it really feels like it feels like having. And I'll be honest, I never actually finished the original series. I've watched like half of it, but it's like it feels like, hey, I'm right back in. Like, hey, I remember all these guys. Everything feels like stuff they would have done in the comics. Everything felt right in this first episode. Cyclops, they totally nailed. I will say, because I guess I didn't get to ask Beau, but I'm curious because it seems to me like they're going with the yes to tap his thing. The side of his visor, but I noticed sometimes it's not always a thing in the comics. I think it was originally, and then I think they use it in some mediums, but I'm pretty sure you could just do it.
So
yeah,
Vaughn,
that's a good question. Yeah.
Vaughn, who was your favorite character before and now after? Well, I guess you've only seen the first episode.
After watching, I was going to say, even at the end of the 10 episodes, listen, I've read probably 200 issues worth. So if we're including stuff like X Factor and all that, so changing my mind in 10 episodes, we'll see. But I'd say my favorite, I got to go with Cyclops. I'd say my top three are Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat. But Shadowcat, I don't know. She never appears in the original. I don't know if she appears in this one, but Havoc, I know in the original appears in one episode, and then they never address that they're brothers, right? Like in the original show.
Yeah.
I still don't think I still think that's just kind of something that's.
Oh, that was one of the questions I wanted to ask Beau. So now that Magneto's in the picture, dude, I'd love to see them do the Outback.
Well, they referenced what scene was it? I'm not sure. Never mind. Forget what I said.
Zach, you had a phenomenal drawing there. Like you nailed the Storm image. But like we all know Storm was your favorite. Leading into it. Watching the series, who's still Storm?
I gotta tell you, right before I answer that, dude, it was quite a difficult thing for me to be. To keep my cool because like you guys were asking Baron questions, I was high as fuck, and I was freaking out, screaming. I'm like, dude, the strong has got to be good, and I was just stressed out, dude. So thank you, you guys definitely kept kept it long and going, so that way I could go ahead and focus on this shit. But
you look like you were really enjoying it. I was like, man, I hope he remembers he's being streamed. Didn't say anything.
Yeah, no, but I was freaking out, bro. Like, I mean, because I was super excited because Jay was like, "All right, calm down, Zach." But to answer his question, Storm, dude, Storm is my favorite sexy female character in comics in general, and for the show, it's still Storm. Like. She's got an attitude about her. I mean, fuck, she's led the team for a while. She's a great, she's a great leader. Life Death has been my absolute favorite X-Men story.
Really? Ever?
Mm-hmm.
Life
Favorite
Death
X-Men
2
story.
is also, I honestly,
Oh yeah, I group them
better than Life.
together.
Yeah.
It's because like it's a time where you get to see Storm like not being a badass, but you get to like really take a peek at how she handles things emotionally, and the love interest about her, because she's such a stoic and checkered
She's how you
face
do a
type of
strong
character.
female
Yeah,
without making
yeah,
her see you next Tuesday. Yeah, and off-putting.
yeah. Yeah, she stole my heart for women as a woman superhero in comic books. That whenever she got dragged into the show, and he knocked it out of the park, man. So it's still Storm.
Well, I think we should wrap this up, because like that was just a whack to the side of the head.
How are you going to
Yeah.
top that, Gooch? What are you going to do now?
Well, I got to change the title. I got to change
Yeah.
everything. That's what I'm thinking. So, you guys thank you so much for asking questions and being on here tonight. I look forward to going through the series with you guys with episode 1 next week.
Yeah.
And I just got a message from Beau DeMayo. He's definitely going to come back on. So
That's awesome.
Oh,
he
man.
said he had a lot of fun. So let's start off with Vaughn. What do you got planned for this week? What do you got coming up?
Oh man, I have a lot. So I was gonna launch my Kickstarter. I don't think that's gonna happen. So I'm gonna keep game streaming on my channel. I keep getting to the part where I'm supposed to get on the date with Tifa in Final Fantasy VII, and then every time they have a new side quest I have to do, and it really is pissing me off. But I've been playing that on stream. My comic book is still live. I should be launching my Kickstarter next week, but you guys can go ahead and back it on there. And just keep my eye on my channel. I'm going to keep pumping out content. And I was writing issue 3 earlier, actually, after I finished watching X-Men 97. I was like, oh, man, I want to write some stuff. And so I was writing issue 3. So, yeah, keep an eye on my channel, keep an eye on my comic, and all that.
Yeah. And yeah, go check out your Twitter, right? Because that has the links to everything you just mentioned.
Oh yeah, my Twitter, my link tree.
Okay.
Yeah, Twitter has everything. Just look at my name,
Zach.
Vaughn Coleman.
Yeah, Vaughn Coleman, and the descriptions and it's in the description, all the links. Zach, what do you got going on, bro?
I mean, dude, besides gracing your page every single week for the shows that you have in, I'm not really doing much. I'm working on my own comic and stuff, Forsaken Fables will be the title of it, so I'm doing that on the side. But yeah, you're definitely keeping me busy. And I added a little bit more into the drawing, so I'll show you guys one more time. And then
Yeah,
looks
we have
great,
we have 308 people watching right now. So
Hell yeah.
Wow.
So well, Zach, you're killed.
I'm saying, dude, Zack about to get hired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great, man. Looks great.
but
Awesome.
honestly, thank you guys for having me on the show. Thank you, Beau, for coming on, dude. I love you. I want you to
Beau's
write
a
Spider-Man.
man.
Quickly before I go to Badger here, Zach me and him are going to be doing an auction, and I think 15th is a possible date. Don't hold your breath on that, but we're going to do an auction for all the art that Zach has done during the streams. So save your money, buy some artwork. It's incredible artwork from Arcane, from Blue Scavenger's Reign, from Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and then X-Men here. So we're going to be doing that in the very, very near future. Badger, where are you going to be, brother?
I'm a busy Badger. So tomorrow at 3:00, I'm gonna have Badger Cast, and then immediately after that, I'm going onto your channel. We're gonna talk about Akira. Thursday, I will be on Open Bar again because the internet gods are kind to me. So yes, and Drinker is kind to me. So I'll be back on Open Bar to talk about the Acolyte. Yay!
Oh.
And then Friday, I will have my normal with pre-F&T with Nerd Wars on his channel, and then Inside the Badger Inn at 9 p.m. PST on my channel. So yeah, I stream it throughout the week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays on his channel. Otherwise,
Nice.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Zaxx, what you
Yeah.
got going on, bro?
tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, my channel. You're going to be here. We're going to have Kayla back here. Lady B is going to come on. We're going to have Flossie Phoenix Dawn is coming to join us to talk about Game of Thrones, because we got House of the Dragon coming up in a couple of weeks. And so we're doing Game of Thrones this week, House of the Dragon next week, and just talking about, like, did it suck in hindsight? Was it good? What parts were good? Is it as bad as we thought? Because the last season was really bad. And Gooch, you didn't like it. So we're going to have a bit of a fight, a sparring match on the
I'll
channel
tell you
tomorrow.
what, Lady B knows her stuff, man.
Oh, did he
Joe-
not like it because
Joe's
it was
laughing.
boring?
You can't see him right now, but Joe's laughing because he knows that Kayla's gonna get her panties in a bunch if I say I hate Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I won't watch if I have to see her go defending stuff anymore. Like, we get enough of it on our own channel.
It's part of the
Andrew,
fun.
Andrew, where are you gonna be there, brother?
I have, I guess, Alkalite. I keep calling it Alkalite. Acolyte
Ugh.
has come out. I might make a video about it, depending
Don't
on
do it.
how.
You don't have to do it, Andrew.
I mean, it's funny though.
It's the third episode that's supposed to be the big one, so we're gonna have to wait till next week anyway for the first big fuckery.
But other than that, Arcane season 2 is ramping up, so I'm gonna make a video about predictions and some things that I think are necessary to happen in order for the story to continue, without breaking anything. So that video is gonna be on the slow cooker, but it will come out. And then I'm here
Nice.
next week, and that's it.
And you'll be on here for season 2 of Arcane, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm my book's open.
Yeah. Mr. Joe Sontag,
Yes,
what do you got going on? Because I know you have a book out there.
I do
I
have a
know
book.
I've read a little bit of just a sneak peek of it.
Yeah, Jay got to
Uh,
do some proofreading, which I was very, very thankful for that you did that for me. Appreciate you very much.
And I'm just gonna say, people, get your wait, present share screen. Here we go. Get out there and buy this book. I'm telling you right now, this is the book you want to buy, because it is it blew me out of the water. It got me excited. I remember the first time buying Spawn, and Reaper Destroyer gives you that feeling. It is amazing. And Joe, you can speak on it because you're the creator, writer, artist.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is basically kind of what we talked about in this panel tonight. I just took all my loves from the stuff I grew up in the 90s and just did a brain dump into this character. It's got everything if you like the kind of the 90s aesthetic, but more modernized, dark hero. If you like Spawn, you like the darkness, all those characters, you're going to love this book. But it's got a very unique story to it, I think, because I really lean into like this world building of a universe and not so much like the heaven versus hell aspect. There are, demons and alien or angels and all this kind of stuff in the book itself at some point, but it really, I try to make it its own standing, its own within the story itself. So I don't talk much about the story because I want it to be kind of a mystery. It's just basically about a guy who's trapped inside a suit of armor that's imprisoned him there with the ancient spirit of death that's trying to possess his soul. And the rest I want you guys to read. And then once the book's out, we're going to definitely talk more about the story. But I think there's a mystery built into the first issue that I'm always really afraid I'm going to spoil if we talk too much about it. So
Already
if you guys
sold.
like it, check it out. That's all I got
I'm
to
already
say.
sold just looking at the art.
Oh, thank you, man.
Dude.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I
Dude,
gotta
this-
get it. How far into it are you?
The lettering is done. So right now we're just working on the supplemental book. I sent that off to be lettered this afternoon, actually. So once we get those all back, we'll be heading to print with everything. So it's getting very, very close to getting this into everybody's hands. So hopefully in the next few months, summer, maybe end of summer at the latest, is going to be getting into people's hands. That's my goal.
And Joe's being modest because I've read this thing, and I know Joe's a great artist. Me and Joe have known each other for quite a while now. But like his writing is, I was blown away by how he wrote this. It's truly amazing. I was totally invested in this, and I'm not just blowing smoke up because he's my bro, but like he really did a great job with this, and I can't speak highly enough about it because it's amazing. I was just
Thank
like,
you, man.
wow,
Means a
like
lot.
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting it. So If you want a great book, like look at this page right here, this dream sequence.
Crazy.
This is my favorite page. Like it's
I do love this.
well,
page.
one of my favorite pages because there's so many damn good pages in this damn good book. But yeah, go check it out on Indiegogo. The link is in the description. But if you want this, just type in Reaper Destroyer on Indiegogo, and let's get this guy to 80,000. Like this should be like
that'd be
a
awesome.
$500,000 book. It's underrated. It's gonna
I didn't
once
realize
it's
you
out
wanted
there.
us to share screens. I should have done that.
Yes. Well, we can in a bit. So yeah, go check it out on Indiegogo. Reaper Destroyer, Joe M. Sontag. I would greatly appreciate that.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the shout out. Definitely. Yeah, I'm excited to get everybody into everybody's hands and to get feedback on the story, because a long running joke on my show is that I don't read, or that I can't read because I don't read. I'm not a big fan of reading comics. I like the pictures, and it's just because I'm an artist. I follow artists. And so, but I can actually write, I guess, apparently, according to Jay. So we'll find out. So pick up the book. Check it out. I think you guys would dig it.
Sammy, where are you going to be this week, bro?
Besides touching myself right after this,
like that.
Bro, you gonna be asleep right
That's what
after
Gooch
this.
is doing for sure.
Amen, bro.
38 seconds.
No, I'm still working on my review of the Fleischer cartoon, so I'm hoping to have that out by early next month. After that, I'm coming right back here for Akira. Then I will be reviewing the Acolyte on Roman's show because he's a fucking sadist. And then after that, I'm going to get a nice palate cleanse with hanging out with you again with Demon Slayer, kicking that off.
Oh
And
shit,
then,
are we talking Demon Slayer? I didn't.
Yeah.
I forgot
Oh, yeah.
season 4 is out.
We're doing
And
season
then,
1, episode 1.
Oh, nice.
and then if Zaxx will have me, I'll probably be on Circle of Jerks again.
Yeah. You stayed awake this week, so that was a bonus.
Yeah.
Dude, he did.
Although you're better when you sleep. So
yes, your takes are better.
My hot take.
Two things. I just want to quickly say, go check out Vex's video after this, please. I'd greatly appreciate it. Her Furiosa. I don't even know how to say that review.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
words.
Yes. Well, I've always said I'm like a Geico caveman. I just sit here. And
You're a professional now. No,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry, Gooch. No excuses anymore. You're big time. You just got an exclusive. Yeah.
The other thing too, on Monday nights, go check out Joe M. Sontag on YouTube. Go check out his channel, sub to his channel. I'd be greatly appreciated. We got 310 people watching. Go check him out. Shout out to Joe, because we do the Spawn review, the Spawn series. We've had Brett Booth on there, or Joe's had Brett Booth on there. Talked about the series. We had Thomas Healy on there. Talking about the series, and then we get into appreciating comic book art afterwards. And then was it Wednesday or Thursday that you're doing?
Thursdays is usually the odd and stuff, which is kind of just an interview. We try to get people in the industry on. Me and Sean Arendt over there, but we do Wednesday shows when we have an overflow. And we actually have 2 shows this week. Tomorrow night, Steve Furcow, if anybody has followed comics in the 90s or just in general, he's one of the best colorists of that era, is coming on the show to we're going to talk Top Cow, talk Image Comics. It's going to be really fun. And then Kelsey Shannon's coming on Thursday, both at 10 o'clock. So yeah, sub the channel, Joe M. Sontag. We do a lot of comic book talk and looking at actual comic books and appreciating the art. So check it out if you like that kind of stuff.
And of course, please check out the Badger. He has some great episodes. Like you do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? And Friday night.
For streaming? Yeah, no, on my channel, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday night. Yeah. And then on Nerd Wars, it's all the other. And that pre-F&T stream is really taking off. Yeah.
Yes.
Tailgating right before pre-F&T.
You're like me. You're exploding onto the YouTube scene. So,
you know what, buddy? We'll do it together.
Yep.
The next generation.
Yeah. Thelma and Louisette. Well, Thelma and Louisette.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, check out Zaxx, like his What's Good Wednesdays, and then Circle of Jerks when he hosts that. That'd be greatly appreciated. Go check him out. It's a lot of fun.
A better
on that
ending.
channel.
Thelma and Louise.
Yes.
Let's not go off the cliff.
And then please sub to like Sammy, Vaughn, and Andrew. These guys have some great content on their channels. It'd be awesome if we can get their subs counts on, their views up. I just can't thank everyone enough for coming on tonight. Vaughn, do you have the link? Do you have your?
Yeah, whenever you're ready, I could. Do you want me to share it in chat too?
Yeah.
here we go. So this is my comic book that I was talking about. So if you're a fan of X-Men, like we were talking about tonight, what really drove me to start writing comics was Chris Claremont's X-Men run, and I wanted to bring back that heart and soul into comics and that long-form storytelling. But I wanted to start with a single origin story of our main character before we build into that team book. So you will get kind of that Uncanny X-Men feel, but like especially in later issues. But here I almost say it starts off, imagine like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man kind of feel, where he builds into becoming a member of the team. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out. It's 60. I decided actually it's 65 pages of story because my artist wanted to add an extra splash page. And I was like, why not? So 68 pages total. There is an art contest going on, so make sure you participate. If you guys like Zack, if you back on Fund My Comic, you get this exclusive free mini print from Zack.
Oh yeah, I forgot I did that. Oh my God.
What do you mean you forgot? You never mind.
It's when it's like as an artist, I'm just drawing all the time, so I'm just forgetting.
So make sure you get that free. Yeah, you can remind Zack when you get it. He'll be like, "I did that." When you bring it up to him to get signed at a convention. But
yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to say before we kind of close this out? Everyone good? Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm good.
I want to do. Yes, it was a great show. I want to do a special shout out to Wyatt Eastman. I thank you so much for the $10 super chat. The Joker, thank you as always, popping in, sending out memberships. I appreciate you, brother. Josh, thank you so much for the super chats and the questions. I appreciate you. 2 super chats, $9.99 each. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And Alchemy, thank you again for the $2 super chat. Much appreciated. Obviously, I would have, done some videos and stuff, but we had Beau on tonight, and I didn't want to, take away the luster, and I wanted him in the limelight tonight.
Absolutely.
The chat, you guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. All the questions, I appreciate it. Tomorrow night, we're doing Akira. We'll be here at 7 o'clock Eastern. We have Hypnotic, we have Badger, we have Sammy.
Quit you.
And we have Leon, and I think that's it for Akira. If I'm missing someone, I apologize for Akira, but we're going to be scrubbing through that show tomorrow. It's one of the best animated movies I think of all time when it comes to animation films. Last week we did
a very
Heavy Metal.
bold, stunning, and brave take.
No, Akira. Akira.
What are you about to say?
I said stunning and brave take because it's a very common thing.
Akira broke the mold, man. That it set everything up.
Are you bearing the lead? Is Otomo going to be on the show?
Yeah. Who
this
knows?
Could be the norm now.
Yes, you're gonna have to find out.
All your shows.
So, again, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Come check out Akira tomorrow night. Thursday night, we're doing Demon Slayer episode 1 from season 1, and we're going to do the first 14 episodes of that. So thank you to everyone, and everyone, please take care.
One thing.
And
go watch Vex's premiere, her review of Furiosa.
Yes.
She just dropped it.
Yeah.
Oh,
go check it out,
host
please.
it. I think he can host it.
Can I host it? Can I?
It's in YouTube settings for the stream.
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring it up.
Well, I'll drop a link in the chat.
Okay, yeah. Let me send me the link.
All right, let's make talk while he figures that out, because honestly, I also don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Well, shout out again to Beau DeMayo and for not saying no when I asked if we should start up hashtag rehire. In other words, if there was no fucking chance, he would have just not said it. The fact that he laughed was like, it means
I feel like he's coming back.
Even if it's in the middle,
even if it's just for something involving him going forward with it might not be showrunner or something, but maybe advisor overall. But I just have a feeling like he's coming back. How could you not? With the response from this show, just the positive response, and that's the guy that you have to thank for it. How can you not bring him back?
Now, maybe they have the hubris to ignore how awesome he is, but again, that would be a horrible mistake. And so hopefully they listen to us.
They are known for their hubris
because we know their history. Yeah, and they're known for listening to us, right? They like him. Now we're definitely not bringing him back.
Yeah.
But no, hopefully
you're right. You're right.
Money will.
I can see it.
Like all things, if we convince them that we'll buy things.
This is why I'm such a big component for going out and supporting the stuff that's good, because I personally would like to show them that that's where the success is. That's where the money's coming in. Give us something good like X-Men 97. We're going to come out. We're going to support it. We're going to be about it. Give us something like, Captain Marvel. Nobody's going to go watch it, and let them see the difference there. And hopefully there's smart people that will eventually go that way and start seeing
like
that.
money, right?
Yeah, be like,
once
give the audience what they're looking for, and you're gonna have a success. It's pretty simple,
Yeah.
I miss the days
dump
when that's
they,
what you could
when
depend
they
on.
blew that tax break they were getting because they couldn't keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
Gooch, I put a tutorial on how to redirect in the private.
Yeah, because it doesn't.
Fuck.
It won't show. It won't come up.
Hey, Hypno.
You don't know
What's
to
up,
say hi
Hypno?
to Nutella?
No.
Hypno, he's going to be here tomorrow night doing Akira, so stop by.
I know. We can talk gay stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff. It's June.
Anyway, we're closing out. Everyone, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate everyone. We'll see you soon. We'll see you tomorrow night. Take care, everyone.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?